This episode is for Friday, May 22nd, 2015. Welcome, Meteor fans. I'm your host, Josh Owens, along with my outdoor co-host,
Rye Walker.
Nice. It looks so nice out, man.
It is nice out today. It's like a perfect temperature here in Cincinnati.
I know, it's
72.
ridiculous. We just got like a back patio area set up, and I think I might like go out there and enjoy the workspace that we have out there now.
Yeah, making you jealous, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess, I could haul this mic out there, but then like the trains would be horrible.
Yeah.
All right. So this week we are talking about $20 million, scaling Meteor to 20,000.
On the 20s.
Yeah. A model layer with 20s. No, I'm just kidding. Angular and React and null chat.
Null chat?
Null chat. All right. So if you haven't heard yet, I don't know what rock you're hiding under, but Meteor just announced that they got $20 million in funding.
20
so
more.
If I do my math right, carry the one, they're at $31 million so far that they've taken in funding.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cash.
Very impressive.
Indeed. On an open source framework, right?
Yeah. Well, is it just an open source framework,
Well, yeah. So that's the interesting thing, right? Like the first round of funding, I think, was maybe gotten on the fact that it was an open source framework and maybe they do hosting. And now I feel like this round, I had a chance to talk with Matt about it a little bit, and he told a story about like convincing Andreessen Horowitz for the next round, and they went in and showed off their mobile local marketplace or whatever that they did, the little demo app, and it was only 500 lines of code, and it was like almost a full-fledged like supermarket social network where you could share recipes and pictures and follow people and all kinds of stuff. And I don't know, like he said that was like a huge selling point, that they were able to build that mobile app in 500 lines of code, and it ran natively, on iOS or Android. So I don't know. I say kudos to them,
Yeah. Yes. It's pretty crazy too. Like I'm out talking to like institutional seed investors right now, and still not many people. They may have heard of Meteor, but they don't know what it is. I'm talking about and like, yeah, but mobile's getting really big. So I'm like, Meteor does mobile too. In fact, it's probably more mobile apps are being built now with Meteor now than non-mobile apps. I'll probably guess to say that's a true statement, since I think that's a generally true statement across apps. But it's just going to take some time for people to realize.
What? Let's find out. Let's ask our audience. Ooh. So you guys tweet at Meteor Podcast and tell us if you're doing a web app, a mobile app, or both.
Yep. Yeah, you can tweet either mobile, web, or both.
Yeah.
We'll report it next week.
Yeah. We'll do a little poll.
Yeah, I bet you will be surprised. That the both and the mobile, I think, is gonna
be higher than originally thought.
Yeah, I think so. We'll see. We'll find out. It's the start of the next chapter, and I think it's the start of what the scaling of Meteor, especially once Galaxy's out and it has a good story, which I have every faith these guys are going to build something that's pretty awesome and noteworthy. It'll catch some eyes, and I think 2016 is going to be a year where we really see Meteor start accumulating significant market share.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like, we're I think with Crater, like I always use Crater as my growth metric, but then the forum coming out kind of put a wrench in that. It's back on a growth path again, and I think that is directly because like I can see the majority of traffic's coming off Google, like people searching and ending up on Crater, and that tells me that the search traffic is ratcheting up, little by little, which tells me more people are interested in talking about it. So,
yep. So let's talk about the other 20,000 or 20 the other 20 million. First 20 million. Now we're going to talk about 20,000. This is a blog post by my buddy David Woody at Differential.
Yeah.
He just tells the story of when we launched this app called the Brave app, which was pretty well trafficked app. We got to test, I should say, Modulus's customer service responsive-ness yet again, and of course they came through with flying colors.
You cheated though. You cheated.
How'd I cheat?
you like texted someone, didn't you?
No, I think I think I may have popped a support ticket in.
Oh, did
those
you?
Guys,
okay.
Yeah, those guys watch it. The founders are on top of it. So
nice.
But yeah. It turns out we didn't realize this, but you can't go more than 10 dynos without prior permission.
Yeah. How many did you guys end up at? Did you know? Was it like 30?
Yeah, I think we were at 30 at least for some of the time. And then basically after that first day, I didn't hear anything about this project again, which is a good sign, right? Like basically turning up the dynos killed the problems, at least to the point that I didn't hear about them. We also had some weird issues with maybe we can get Woody to do a post on that around what was it? Different versions of iOS, like iOS 4 and 5, and there's iOS 4, 5, and 6. And we had issues with different versions.
That's interesting. Yeah. So I would say, for people that aren't familiar with the backstory, like number one, go read this blog post after you watch or listen to this. But this is, so I go to church at Crossroads, and this was an app built for Crossroads, which is a population of 17,000, 20,000 kind of members that come in, and they go to church on Saturday and Sunday, and it's spread out over 5 services. But really you guys had to deal with like a concentrated block of like people downloading and signing up all within probably 12 or 16 hour period.
Yeah. So and people could download and sign up in advance, but most didn't. So
yeah.
It was interesting. The issue with it was like a really weird problem. Basically, when you open up the app in certain like iOS 5 on an older iPhone, it would just crash, and like what the hell's going on?
Yeah. So I got to see the flip side. Some of the other challenges. One that Sunday we went to the 10 o'clock service, and I immediately I knew what this was, so I pull up the website and I immediately get unable to connect to instances, and I'm like, this is on Modulus. and so then I text you hey, you might need more dynos. And then you're like, there's this servos. And so you're like, oh, hold on, I'll text Woody. And then a couple of minutes later, everything seemed to be smoothly running again. Yeah. But on the flip side, watching, we were in a group at our house, and seeing people trying to interact with the technology. I think, one of those people in our group had an older iPhone that couldn't upgrade to 7 or 8.
Yeah.
They were having significant troubles and couldn't basically get on, and they were trying from their iPad as well and having trouble. And I think ultimately she got on using the web, but had trouble with IE as well, and so
yep.
I think it's something to consider, even as progressive as this church happens to be, that with such a large population of people, you're going to have a diverse technical, I don't know, what do you call that, install base?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's interesting. The very first problem was that I forget if it was the live site or the version of the app that was inside of the iOS app, but basically we had deployed a version of it without polymers vulcanize happening, which meant that there was 100 HTTP requests happening really, really fast. And apparently, I mean, that you wouldn't think that should crash an iOS app, but it does. Fixing that solved part of the problem, and I think there were a few other things, but maybe we'll get Woody to tell that story once the pain is worn off.
Yeah, well, I think it's done now, right? So our last, we decided to have a 6th meeting, and we're doing that tonight. We're just grilling out and drinking beer. So
yep, so it was awesome. Pretty cool. 2.9 million records popped into our Mongo database.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so it can scale.
Nice.
But day ones are never going to be fun. You don't know what's wrong with the app until
the real question I would have is like, what does that look like as far as the setup goes? Like, is that one compose, oplog enabled instance that you guys used for that?
Yeah, we'll ask that question. Okay. What if you're listening? You owe us a blog post. Keep talking about it.
All right.
Cool.
So, next post from our good buddy David Weldon. I don't know if he listens to this show. I've never asked him. He's like the number 2 guy answering Meteor questions on Stack Overflow. And he said he can never be number 1. Apparently, it's just too hard.
Who's number 1?
Some other guy over in the UK, but he's got such a lead that he can never catch up. As long as that guy's doing it every day, no way he can catch up. So anyway, he wrote about a model layer, and I thought this was interesting and it's worth talking about. Like he's talking about transforms and that kind of thing. And then at the end, he mentions collection helpers as well. And it's a good read. Actually, Woody's written a similar post as well about using transform and how most people don't realize it's there. And so the idea is, with a transform, you can specify, it's not a prototype, but I think it's their functions that get run or something and applied as the data comes out of the database. And so when you're working with a collection, when you get an individual item out of that collection, like let's just call that a model. Like I always call it a model. So when you're working with the individual model, like you can decorate functions and methods on top of that. And so you can do things like, I don't know, for me, like were you ever a fan of fat model skinny controllers?
Yeah, Rails land.
Yeah. So James Buck wrote a post about that a long time ago, and it was about encapsulating the business logic with the models. Yeah. And I tend to do that a lot, and I'm finding this pattern to be quite enjoyable now. Basically, I'll write some helper methods, and I'll use this collection helpers to apply them. But when I need to get to do some kind of calculations or something, my choices are either to write a template helper or to go write a collection helper. And to me, the collection helper is ultimately a better thing because it's reusable in more spots. I don't have to go write a global helper, like template global helper, or I don't have to like rewrite that code anywhere. I'm just doing it in the collection. I think it belongs in the collection. For me, if you're outputting some kind of HTML, that should be a template helper. Or you're rearranging so it looks nice in HTML, that's a template helper. If you're just taking some data and maybe combining like first name and last name, like I would put that in a collection helper. And so that's kind of what this blog post is talking about.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me. Like we've been using models, the concept of a model, since I started using Meteor. It's like it's never really been a question. So, but it's interesting though, because like, if people aren't coming from our code base and our experience, they have to think about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. So what I'd love to see, if someone's got some time, they should make a package. And this is what Woody was alluding to in his post. And David talks about in his post, like he's got some finder methods and some connection methods for like making, like finding a related author to a blog post or something. I'd love to see someone make like a has many or like a belongs to type connector, and so we could describe out when we have like a post ID and an author ID on a various thing, we could make that like wire that relationship so you get these methods automatically between the two. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. The one thing we do, I don't know if you do this too, but like if there's Meteor methods related to a given collection, we'll generally put those in the same file.
Yeah. I'll always look at my Meteor method and try to decide what data is it working on, and if it's working on like one specific collection, I'll put it in with the collection file itself.
Yeah. We actually name it like model/method name.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of really easy nice. to figure out, like if you see the method, like where is that method coming from? Well, it's I guess kind of a hack, so that you have to put that in a string.
Yeah, no, I like that idea actually quite a bit.
Yeah. All right, cool. Where are we at? Next topic. That was a good one, though. Models. Use models.
Indeed. Angular and React.
Angular and React. Wait, is that me? Is that
yeah? That's
okay.
You.
The order changed here. This is weird.
Did it?
I don't know. No.
I'm the one drinking beer, man. What the hell?
Jeez, I'm just drinking Coke Zero. All right, so great post in InfoWorld from, what day was this? Yesterday. Talking about, it's interesting. Like it's clearly a story that was, I'm sure Meteor's, with their funding announcements, reaching out to different media sources and talking about what they're going for. But the angle here is that Meteor is not competitive with Angular or React. It's actually compatible with it. And I really like this attitude of Meteor that, we're not trying to build something that's going to exclude people. We want it to be flexible. So it just kind of, it's a pretty short article, but I think it's interesting. Another note here is that it looks like Yuri Goldstein,
yeah.
Goldstein has joined Meteor.
Indeed. Yeah, I found that really, really interesting, right? So he's the guy that was leading the way with Meteor and Angular. And I had no idea they had hired him. I'd love to see a similar announcement with like them hiring Ben Green and bringing him into part of the team for more database support. But I love seeing this, to me. So I think there's a couple of interesting things here. Number one, that this announcement came out, it actually didn't mention the funding. So, I think we're maybe seeing the effects of the new VP of marketing they hired. Maybe.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And then also, for anyone that's paying attention to the right signals, I think, hearing about React and the fact that they're interested in integrating is no shocker to me. If you look at like Sashko and Avital and David Greenspan, and like there's a number of people that are playing with React, and Ben Newman, they're all trying to figure out a way to smartly integrate React with Meteor, and so it's no shock to me that they're doing that. And I think bringing Yuri onto the team is a smart move. He can certainly advise to where they can make changes to make it easier, and maybe even advise whoever's doing the React work to get it done faster. Who knows?
Yeah, and I think that one of the interesting angles here is that some people want to say like replace Blaze with React, and I don't think Meteor is going to do that. They're not going to basically anoint React as the framework that everyone should use. I guess they just have a different attitude about this kind of stuff. Like they'll call a winner a winner only when it's like
clearly pulled ahead.
Yeah, like 90% winner, not 80% winner. So
Matt had an interesting quote about that, and he said if you took a look at the kind of the JavaScript framework war that happened early on, it looked like what were some of them? There was MooTools and there was jQuery. I think MooTools actually came first, and there was another one. Scriptaculous came with Rails and that kind of stuff. And if you looked at that stuff, like you would think maybe MooTools was going to be the winner early on, but then jQuery came out of nowhere and just kind of like blew away the competition, and it's the one that's still around today. Like I'm sure MooTools is maybe around today. I don't know, but nobody uses it. I don't know. Maybe they do.
Just offended 6 people, Josh.
So you're absolutely right. Like, how do you pick that winner? You don't.
Yeah.
Let's just maybe support the big front runners and make it easier for people.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, there's no way there's not. Angular is not going away. Neither is React. So there is not going to be a winner there. Yeah. And then of course, Meteor has its own things. It'll be really interesting to see someone who's got like a React front end with a Postgres back end Meteor app. It's going to feel like not Meteor, right? That's like you're using like a third of what Meteor originally was.
Maybe. I mean, I think as long as you're using DDP and like live Postgres looks similar to live or mini Mongo. Mini Postgres looks like mini Mongo. I don't know. I don't feel like it's going to be too crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting though. So we got a lot of interesting things to happen in the ecosystem. So
Yeah. Honestly, to me, like anytime they're able to take the modularity that already exists within Meteor and like change out the pieces and the players, like I think that's just going to become a more compelling story for people to kind of come in and use it to me.
yeah, yeah. Someone upvoted null chat. That's why the order changed on me.
Oh, we totally messed that up.
That's all right.
All right. So that's funny. I shared the list with the Meteor Club Slack chat room.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. So the guy that wrote null chat just joined the Meteor Club chat room as well.
Okay.
I'm guessing maybe
Upvoted.
he upvoted it. That's funny.
Let's talk about that.
Yes. So null chat. This is really like, I don't know. This is one of those mind-blowing weeks for me. So last Friday, I was doing the May Fate thing, having the fun out here, and then I came back and we did the podcast, and then I did an air pair, and the guy wanted to air pair on this like Slack clone.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't put two and two together, even after we had finished the podcast, that the Slack clone he was working on was the Impact project that we had talked about last week. And he had taken the version of that, and he had been playing around with it and trying to add some features. And so we added some features. We got like private messaging going and that kind of stuff. And then, all of a sudden, I started hearing about Space Talk, and it turns out they renamed Impact to Space Talk. And so they've got a Slack chat room as well, which is growing by leaps and bounds. And I got in there and started talking to the null chat guy, and it turns out he spent like 6 months like every day just working on this null chat project as a way to kind of level up his Meteor experience. Matt's his name, and he's done a really interesting job. So the UI is completely his own. I think he went with semantic UI, but he's replicated quite a bit of Slack functionality, and he wasn't sure what to do, like what's the right thing for the community, and there's a bit of a struggle on like should he open source it, because now there's this big kind of movement around Space Talk, and I told him like you should totally just open source it, post it on Crater. People are interested. Maybe they'll jump in and help. If not, I think the thing is like he's got more knowledge than anyone else about building a Meteor chat application. So help guide the community and maybe take some of his source code and contribute it to Space Talk as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was an interesting conversation because he would love credit for null chat because he wants to get a job working full time with Meteor. Which I think open source helps, but really I think it's just a signal that you care enough to like research and do great things on your own outside of just being hired by a company.
Yeah. Well, I think it's you do yourself no service by keeping things hidden, even though you're there's always the competitive fear and all that. But I love that open sourced it. Post to forums. Hey, look what I built. Anyone need help building their Meteor app? He's following the right path to getting. I mean, this is a project with 394 commits. Tells me he's got some dedication to sticking with something. So that's huge.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, we had, I think it was a recent talk on the Meteor Club podcast where we were talking about like how to get a job in Meteor. And certainly open source is one good way. And I'd say blogging is another, right? Like he should blog about his experience building it and the challenges and all that kind of stuff, because that stuff, like little by little, as you put out those blog posts, I think it's going to build up a little mind share and a little knowledge about his name. And then when you potentially go in and someone wants to hire you, like, when you talk to Colin over at Differential, you can point him at your blog and he's going to be like, oh, look at all these technical posts. Like you're going to look a little more interesting to hire, in my opinion.
Yep. Especially because, for example, Differential is always looking for people who are down to blog. Yeah, we lost a huge marketing person about a year ago. Still haven't recovered from that.
Very true. Very true. I recently lost one too. Oh wait, No, I haven't blogged in like 2 months, so I got to get back on it myself. I got a good one coming out though. I'm gonna do. I got a Meteor security checklist, and if you join the Meteor Club mailing list, you'll get that in your inbox, a little PDF. And then I'm gonna put together like a mega security kind of blog post roundup list together in a couple of days as part of this. So kind of interesting.
Cool. Was that our last topic?
It was. By way of like
anything
messing up all our list.
Anything else new going on with you?
Yeah, just I would say like that checklist has been a focus, and I'll have an interesting announcement probably in the next week or two as well, with kind of consulting type work.
Got it.
Interesting. Yeah,
a lot of demand.
Yeah, for me, it's just mostly working. You know, it's funny, we were talking about the mobile versus web. Like, I am absolutely full time on a mobile app right now and nothing else. So, you know,
so you got to tweet that to the podcast because we want to count your vote.
Indeed, I will. And I'll have I've got an assistant who works in Oregon, and I'll have her go through and kind of tally up, and we'll make a nice pie chart or something. But should be interesting. What about you? Anything exciting or interesting?
Oh yeah, always. Why not? Got to live, right? Now we're actually. I'm just now actually working today on astronomer.io. It's a new product we're working on. So.
Oh, nice! Is that the thing that you were looking for a name on?
Yeah, and it was awesome. By the way, if you're ever trying to, here's a little naming tip, right? Come up with 10 crappy names of your own, put them on lister.io, which is, and then invite 30 of your smart friends to iterate on that. And like two hours later, you end up with a great name.
Nice.
We did that with differential. Do you remember?
I do. Yeah.
Gerard was the one that came up with differential, I believe.
Yeah.
This time, Caleb, who works at Liquid, tossed out the astronomer.io, and immediately I got several emails like, "Oh, that's a great name." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I agree." Register.
Nice.
So so we chose a name. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more about it next week. I'm still like so deep into trying to figure out how to talk about it.
Yeah. No, sounds good.
Yeah,
look forward to it.
Yep. All right, man.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more Meteor news for you to consume. And remember, if you want to support us, go to patreon.com/Meteor Club, or go check out modulus.io for all your hosting needs. They are Meteor experts.
They are.
All right. Thanks, guys. This video has been a Meteor Club production. You can find out more information about Meteor Club and join the mailing list by clicking on the Meteor Club button below. If you enjoyed this video, you can also hit the subscribe button below and get more content like this. Thanks for watching.